Welcome to Dreamy Tales, a place where gentle, relaxing stories will guide you into a deep sleep. On this channel, we'll be sharing soothing stories to help you unwind and forget the worries of the day. If you enjoy these peaceful moments, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of our bedtime tales. Let's create a space of relaxation together each night. Now, before we dive into tonight's story, let's take a few moments to relax your body and mind. Find a comfortable spot to sit or lie down. Gently close your eyes and take a deep breath. Inhale slowly, feeling the fresh air filling your lungs, and slowly exhale, letting the tension in your body gradually melt away. Repeat this 3 more times. With each breath, feel yourself becoming more relaxed and ready to enter the magical world of stories. Now, loosen your shoulders, gently massage your face, and release any remaining tension. Pay attention to any areas in your body that still feel tight. Maybe in your neck, back, or legs, and gently let them relax. Next, we'll do a short guided visualization. Imagine yourself in a beautiful garden under the night sky, with the soft moonlight shining down. You can hear the rustling of leaves in the breeze, the sound of water flowing gently in the distance. Feel the cool breeze brushing against your face. Now that your body and mind are relaxed, let's step into tonight's story. But before we begin, remind yourself that you deserve these moments of relaxation, and let go of all worries as you listen to each word. And now, as you are fully relaxed, let's begin our journey into tonight's tale. Allow my words to guide you into a world of dreams and serenity. Relax and listen slowly in the tranquil depths of the Adriatic Sea, where sunlight filtered through the cerulean waters in dancing patterns, lived a diminutive seahorse named Finn. He was an extraordinary creature, not merely due to his small stature, but also because of his remarkable physical attribute. Finn possessed skin of such exquisite transparency that he was, for all intents and purposes, invisible to the myriad marine inhabitants he encountered in his daily explorations. Finn considered himself a master of disguise, a veritable chameleon of the ocean. With an almost magical ability, he could subtly shift his coloration and the faint patterns on his delicate skin to perfectly mimic the hues and textures of whatever he happened to be swimming past. Whether it was the vibrant coral reefs teeming with life or the swaying fronds of emerald seagrass, Finn could seamlessly blend into his surroundings, becoming one with the underwater tapestry. This unique characteristic made Finn quite exceptional within the bustling underwater metropolis. He was granted the privilege of observing the breathtaking beauty of the subaquatic world day in and day out, simply by virtue of his natural camouflage. He never startled the darting schools of fish, never caused the prickly sea urchins to defensively retract their spines, and never disrupted the delicate balance of the marine ecosystem. Finn was known throughout his small corner of the Adriatic as a friendly and quiet soul. His days filled with a gentle curiosity and an insatiable love for exploration. He would often join the kaleidoscopic processions of colorful fish on their leisurely swims through the coral gardens. when the fish shimmered with brilliant shades of sunshine yellow and fiery orange, adorned with bold stripes of deep sapphire blue. Finn, too, would adopt these vibrant hues, becoming an almost imperceptible member of their radiant parade. The other fish rarely noticed Finn's presence, so perfectly did he blend in with their numbers. But on those rare occasions when one of them did happen to catch a fleeting glimpse of the nearly invisible seahorse, they were always welcoming and genuinely intrigued to meet such an unusual creature. Finn's gentle nature and quiet demeanor made him a well-liked, if rarely seen, member of the underwater community. From time to time, Finn would attempt to join a playful pod of dolphins as they gracefully arced through the water, their sleek bodies cutting through the currents with effortless speed. However, keeping pace with such agile and swift creatures proved to be a considerable challenge for the tiny seahorse. While Finn was a surprisingly fast swimmer for his size, his diminutive form simply couldn't match the dolphin's powerful propulsion. Finn's most cherished companion was a wise old octopus, who he had affectionately nicknamed Inkling. She resided in a cozy den amongst the rocks at the ocean's floor, diligently foraging for delectable morsels of food. Finn always approached Inkling with the utmost care, swimming slowly and deliberately so as not to startle the sensitive cephalopod. Together, Finn and Inkling would share a leisurely snack, often consisting of tiny crustaceans or algae, and then embark on gentle wanderings through the underwater landscape. Inkling, with her 8 versatile arms, would explore the crevices and sandy bottoms, while Finn would drift along beside her, his translucent form almost disappearing against the backdrop of the ocean floor. Finn was aware that seahorses of his particular kind were not abundant in these waters, and he had come to believe that his near invisibility was akin to a remarkable superpower. It granted him an unparalleled sense of freedom and tranquility, allowing him to observe the wonders of the ocean without causing any disturbance. He couldn't imagine the experience of being a massive sea creature, like a formidable orca or a majestic humpback whale, whose every movement would command attention. For Finn, being the happiest little, almost invisible seahorse in the Adriatic was a perfect existence. One sun-drenched day, as the sunlight streamed through the water in shimmering columns, Finn's happiness reached an unprecedented level. His attention was suddenly and completely captivated by the most graceful and enchanting creature he had ever laid his tiny eyes upon. She was unlike any other being he had encountered in his underwater life. From the waist upwards, she possessed the delicate features and smooth, golden tan skin of a human. But from the waist down, her form transformed into a magnificent tail covered in iridescent scales that shimmered with an ethereal glow in shades of deep ocean blue and vibrant sea green. This flowing tail, where legs would have been if she were entirely human, propelled her through the water with an elegant and fluid motion. Her hair was the color of sun-ripened corn silk, flowing around her face like a golden halo, and her eyes sparkled with the brilliance of vibrant emeralds. She was, without a shadow of a doubt, a mermaid, a creature of legend brought to life before Finn's very eyes. An immediate and profound connection bloomed within Finn's tiny heart as he gazed upon the mermaid. A flurry of questions filled his mind. What was her name? Where did she come from? Were there others like her in this vast ocean? Before Finn could ponder these questions any further, the mermaid turned her gaze in his direction, her emerald eyes seeming to look directly at him. Finn's heart fluttered with anticipation. But then, just like every other living being under the sea, the mermaid's gaze passed right through him. She couldn't see him, not even the faintest outline of his spiny, translucent body. A pang of disappointment, quickly followed by his usual acceptance of his invisible existence, rippled through Finn. He followed along beside her for a little while, keeping a respectful distance, his curiosity piqued by her presence. Finn noticed a delicate, jeweled crown resting atop her golden hair, its tiny gems catching the sunlight and scattering it in miniature rainbows. She must be a princess, he decided, his imagination taking flight. He became utterly mesmerized by her tail, which appeared to be both incredibly strong and remarkably fragile at the same time. It moved with such delicate grace through the water, almost as though she were performing an elaborate ballet routine for an audience of none but herself and the silent observers of the sea. The mermaid executed a graceful turn around a vibrant coral reef, her movements fluid and effortless. Finn was determined to stay close, eager to continue observing this enchanting being. But the mermaid suddenly increased her speed, her powerful tail propelling her forward with greater purpose. She seemed to be on a mission, her movements suggesting a specific destination in mind. Finn gave it all he had, his tiny fins working furiously, and luckily he was able to keep the mermaid within his sight, his translucent form slipping through the water with surprising agility. He watched intently as she swam upwards towards the surface, the sunlight above growing increasingly brighter. It was at this point that Finn realized he shouldn't follow her all the way to the surface. He estimated it to be at least 30 meters to the sunlit realm above, a considerable distance for his small body, and he knew he wouldn't have the energy to make the ascent and then return to the depths. So, with a sigh of resignation, he decided to stay put and gently tread water in his own way, his tiny fins fluttering to keep him buoyant. He found himself rather content in his decision, watching the myriad schools of fish and tiny shrimp that flitted and darted around him as he waited for the mermaid's return. As he patiently hovered in the water, a school of sleek silver mackerel passed him by, their long, slender bodies and distinctive zebra-like stripes making them easily recognizable. Not long after, another school of fish swam past Finn, this time a group of sea bass. Their bodies were rounder and more robust than the mackerel, and they seemed to possess a certain swagger in their movements, perhaps due to the impressive spiked fins that adorned their backs, giving them a confident and somewhat formidable appearance. After a few more schools of various fish had passed, their scales shimmering in the filtered sunlight, the mermaid reappeared, gracefully descending from the water's surface. Finn noticed a brilliant, radiant smile illuminating her face, her expression one of pure joy and contentment. Whatever or whomever she had encountered up there had clearly made her very happy. Finn couldn't help but wonder what it was that had brought such joy to the mermaid's face. Had she met a friendly face from the world above? Perhaps she had discovered something particularly tasty to eat, a delicacy from the surface world. Either way, her happiness was palpable, radiating from her with such intensity that Finn could almost feel her joy resonating within his own tiny being. He followed her for a bit longer as she continued her journey through the underwater landscape, until they eventually arrived at her destination for the day. Finn had never witnessed anything quite like it before. A magnificent structure loomed before him, a massive castle built from smooth gray stone and adorned with intricate details of seashells and shimmering mother of pearl. 3 pointed pillars rose from the top of the castle, reaching towards the surface like underwater spires. Finn estimated that there must be at least 100 windows scattered across the castle's facade, hinting at countless rooms within its grand interior. 2 imposing mermen stood guard outside the castle's main door, their muscular forms clad in shimmering scales. Their faces held friendly expressions, but Finn, ever cautious, thought it best to keep his distance, even though he was fairly certain they wouldn't be able to see him. Watching from afar, Finn's curiosity was thoroughly piqued. It was evident that the mermaid was indeed a princess, or perhaps even a young queen, but of what exactly? What realm did she rule? Was her dominion over the entire vastness of the sea? He carefully observed as she swam gracefully towards the castle's entrance. The 2 mermen guards nodded their heads respectfully in her direction, as a large, ornate metal door, adorned with intricate carvings of sea creatures, slowly lowered to allow her passage. She effortlessly swam inside the castle, disappearing from Finn's sight as the heavy doors closed silently behind her. Left to his own devices, Finn decided to take it upon himself to explore this newly discovered area surrounding the majestic underwater kingdom. He found it to be quite breathtaking, even more enchanting than he had initially imagined. Even the seagrass that surrounded the castle grounds was a sight to behold. Tall, slender blades of grass in hues of vibrant pink and fiery orange swayed gently back and forth in the underwater currents, creating a mesmerizing dance of color. Ruby-red clusters of coral dotted the sandy ground, providing shelter for tiny, colorful fish, while delicate tufts of green flora danced rhythmically with the gentle flow of the water. It was a truly captivating spectacle. Finn looked down at the sandy bottom and saw turquoise and silver clamshells scattered about, like precious jewels strewn across the seabed. Some of the shells were open, revealing the soft, pearlescent glow of shiny pearls nestled within their depths. Others remained tightly closed, snug and secure, holding their hidden treasures within. After thoroughly exploring every nook and cranny of the area surrounding the castle, Finn began to feel a sense of weariness creeping into his tiny body. he decided that it was probably best for him to head back towards his own humble abode. Perhaps he would be able to find Inkling, and they could share another leisurely snack before settling down for the night. The next morning, Finn awoke feeling completely rejuvenated, the gentle currents of the Adriatic having lulled him into a deep and restful sleep. He couldn't help but wonder if the mermaid's palpable happiness from the previous day had somehow magically transferred to him during the night, leaving him with an extra spring in his tiny fins. With renewed energy and a surge of curiosity, Finn began his journey back towards the magnificent underwater castle. As he approached the familiar location, he spotted her, or more accurately, he heard her. The mermaid princess was singing a melody so lovely and pure that it resonated through the water, her voice absolutely transcendent, like the gentle chiming of underwater bells. Finn stopped in his tracks, his tiny body hovering in the water, completely captivated by the enchanting sound. Once again, he found himself utterly mesmerized by this mysterious and beautiful half-human, half-fish creature. An irresistible urge compelled him to swim closer, to move nearer to the source of that captivating voice so that he could hear her song more clearly and fully appreciate its melodic intricacies. Finn gently propelled himself forward, his translucent form gliding silently through the water. Times like this, he reflected, made him feel particularly grateful for his unique superpower, his near invisibility. The mermaid didn't see him, not even as he inched closer and closer, his movements as silent as the falling of underwater snow. His sole goal was to discern every melodic phrase that flowed from her lips, to capture each delicate syllable and savor the emotion conveyed in her song. He stopped approximately 2 meters away from the mermaid, close enough to admire the gentle sway of her golden hair and the serene expression on her face as she sang, her voice weaving a tapestry of sound through the water. Her song was about the exquisite experience of falling in love, specifically the delightful novelty of it all. She sang of the fluttering feeling of butterflies in one's stomach, the sweet anticipation of a first kiss, and the electrifying sensation of a lingering glance exchanged between two souls drawn to one another. As the last verse of the mermaid's enchanting song concluded, the tension in her shoulders seemed to ease ever so slightly. Her whole body followed suit, relaxing as she began to float gently in place, her iridescent tail swaying softly in the current. She looked towards the surface with a blissful expression on her face, her emerald eyes sparkling with hope and a hint of longing. Perhaps, Finn thought, his tiny heart filled with empathy, the person she's singing about is up there, on the surface, maybe even waiting for her. A little way off, the soft creaking sound of stone against stone broke the mermaid's wistful gaze. It was the sound of the enchanted castle's massive door slowly opening. She turned her head back towards the entrance and outswam not one, but 5 more mermaids. They varied slightly in size, but not by much, and they all shared the same radiant golden corn silk hair as the princess. They swam towards the mermaid princess with playful smiles gracing their lips, their movements light and graceful. Once they reached her, They giggled and embraced, their interactions filled with the easy camaraderie and affection that only sisters could share. After a while, all 6 mermaids began to wind up their powerful tails, creating swirling currents in the water and releasing millions of tiny bubbles that danced and shimmered all around them, catching the sunlight in fleeting rainbows. Then, with a synchronized grace, they began to swim upwards, their iridescent tails flashing towards the bright light that beckoned beyond the water's surface. Since the day was still early and Finn's tiny body was brimming with energy and an insatiable curiosity, he decided to follow them all the way up this time. It was a considerable trek for his small form, requiring a sustained effort of his tiny fins, but he was absolutely determined to uncover the mystery. He simply had to know what inspired the mermaid princess to sing her heartfelt love song. Once he arrived at the surface, his tiny head barely breaking the water's tension, Finn saw a large boat bobbing gently on the waves. Standing near the bow of the boat was a man who looked comfortable and at ease, both out at sea and, Finn somehow sensed, on land. The mermaid princess approached the boat alone, her 5 sisters remaining submerged beneath the waves, perhaps acting as silent guardians, or simply observing the unfolding scene, just as Finn was, their presence unseen. The mermaid and the man exchanged warm smiles, their expressions radiating a clear affection for one another. This must be who she was singing about, Finn decided, his tiny eyes glued to the enchanting fairy tale scene that was playing out before him on the surface of the water. The man in the boat reached down with one hand and gently caressed the mermaid's cheek. She responded by cupping his hand with her own and nestling her cheek against his palm, a tender gesture that spoke volumes about their connection. How could they ever truly be together? Finn wondered, a flicker of concern for their different worlds crossing his mind. He was a human, a creature of the land and air, while she was a mermaid, a denizen of the deep. Then, the man did something that surprised even the ever-observant little Finn. He strapped a large air tank to his back and carefully sat down on the edge of the boat, his legs dangling over the side. He then slipped his feet into 2 large black rubber flippers and placed a breathing apparatus securely in his mouth. Once all his gear was in place, the man leaned back and deliberately fell into the water, creating a small splash. The mermaid smiled gleefully at his arrival and immediately dove underwater to greet him, her iridescent tail flashing as she descended. Finn quickly submerged himself, eager to witness their underwater interaction. But first, he instinctively looked around for the other mermaids. They were nowhere to be seen, but their presence could be felt all around, their voices starting out softly and slowly, gradually becoming more prominent as they began to harmonize a beautiful serenade for the princess and her sailor, their enchanting melody echoing through the water. Finn redirected his attention to the princess and her companion. Holding hands, the couple swam leisurely around the area, their movements synchronized and graceful. Finn couldn't take his eyes off them as they glided through the clear water, their faces beaming with pure joy and happiness. Every so often, the couple would pause in their gentle swim to observe the vibrant scenes of nature that surrounded them. Schools of brightly colored fish darted by, playful dolphins approached to investigate the newcomers, and even a few curious lobsters emerged from their rocky hiding places to join the underwater spectacle. For the most part, though, the mermaid and the sailor simply gazed at each other, their eyes locked in a silent conversation of love and affection. "This is pure love," Finn thought, a warm and fuzzy feeling spreading through his tiny seahorse heart. Eventually, the couple began to head towards the magnificent, enchanted underwater kingdom, their movements suggesting a specific destination in mind. Finn followed closely behind, never taking his eyes off the mermaid princess's shimmering tail as it propelled her through the water. What kind of business could a human have with a magical creature like a mermaid? Finn pondered, his curiosity once again piqued. Perhaps the sailor wants to know where the mermaid lives. Maybe he has never been to her home before. But soon, Finn felt his tiny body growing tired from the long day's adventures. His eyes felt heavy, threatening to close against his will. He had witnessed so much wonder and excitement, and he really should go home and get some much-needed rest. But his inquisitive nature simply wouldn't allow him to leave just yet. He was determined to keep watching the story unfold, to see what would happen next in this captivating underwater romance. Calmly and gently, he continued to follow behind the mermaid and the sailor as they journeyed through the cool, clear waters, passing a multitude of fascinating sea life along the way. It was a peaceful swim, the gentle currents carrying them towards their destination. Eventually, the majestic castle came into view, its stone walls and seashell decorations shimmering in the filtered sunlight. The mermaid and the sailor, with all his cumbersome underwater gear, approached the grand entrance. The two mermen guards were still there, standing sentinel, and they motioned for the sailor to remain where he was. He obliged with a firm nod of his head, his expression serious but hopeful. The massive castle door slowly opened, revealing the interior of the enchanted kingdom, and the mermaid princess swam gracefully inside, disappearing from Finn's sight for less than half a minute. Then she reappeared, swimming alongside a regal merman who had long, flowing white hair and a magnificent golden crown resting upon his head. It must be her father, the king, Finn told himself, his curiosity reaching its peak as he carefully swam closer to the castle to get a better view of this majestic figure. The large merman at the princess's side was indeed striking. He had a jovial face with rosy cheeks and a neatly trimmed white beard that matched the hair flowing from beneath his crown. His tail was at least twice as long as those of the castle guards, and unlike his daughter's shimmering, multicolored scales, every single scale on his powerful tail was a deep, rich shade of indigo, radiating an aura of authority and wisdom. The mermaid princess looped her arm affectionately through the king's as they slowly approached the waiting sailor. Finn couldn't see the expression on the sailor's face due to his underwater breathing mask, but he imagined the human might be feeling a little nervous in the presence of the imposing king. Who wouldn't be under these extraordinary circumstances? Finn mused. As the two men narrowed the space between them, Finn could clearly see just how large and imposing the king was in stature compared to the sailor. Luckily, the king's jovial expression and warm smile seemed to indicate a friendly disposition. They greeted one another with a formal handshake, the king's large hand engulfing the sailor's. "This is good," thought Finn, a sense of relief washing over him. The love story can continue. When the two men broke their grasp, the king snapped his fingers with a flourish, and a large, ancient-looking black book magically appeared in his hands, seemingly materializing out of thin air. The mermaid princess looked absolutely delighted at the sight of the book, her emerald eyes sparkling with anticipation. She couldn't contain her happiness as her iridescent tail wiggled back and forth, creating a cloud of tiny bubbles all around her. When the bubbles subsided, Finn could see that the princess was now surrounded by her 5 adoring sisters and a dozen or so friendly sea creatures who had gathered around as if expecting a special event. There were a few playful dolphins, a family of smiling clams nestled in the sand, and some brightly colored fish with eager expressions. They all appeared to be ready for a show of some sort. The king opened the large black book, its pages filled with intricate symbols and glowing script, and began to read from it in a melodious language that was completely unfamiliar to Finn. "I'll just have to observe," the little seahorse thought, his curiosity reaching fever pitch. In the next few moments, a series of wondrous events unfolded before Finn's eyes. First, the delicate jeweled crown atop the mermaid princess's golden hair mysteriously sprouted a thin, ethereal white veil that cascaded down, gracefully draping over her long, flowing locks. The king beamed with pride at the sight of his daughter's radiant beauty. He then looked down at the open book and recited some more words in the ancient language. Whatever the king had spoken caused the sailor's flippers on his feet to magically join together at the heels and transform into a single, powerful triangular tail, the unmistakable mark of a merman. Scales the color of jade began to form at the sailor's ankles, shimmering in the water, and gradually spread upwards, covering his legs until they reached his waist, seamlessly blending with his human torso. As the transformation completed, the air tank on the newly formed merman's back vanished, as did the mask on his face and the breathing apparatus in his mouth. He was now officially a creature of the sea, a merman ready to share his life with his mermaid princess. A chorus of cheers and joyful calls erupted from the gathered sea creatures, their approval of this magical union evident in their enthusiastic displays. The happy couple turned to one another, their eyes filled with love and adoration, and clasped hands. The king, his face radiating happiness, gave them his royal blessing and gently closed the ancient black book. After a tender kiss, the mermaid princess and her newly transformed merman embraced for a long, heartfelt moment, their tails intertwined in a symbol of their enduring love. Finn felt incredibly fortunate to have witnessed such a magical and heartwarming moment between two souls from different worlds. He knew that there would be many more wonderful moments for them to experience together in their shared underwater realm. Being invisible, Finn reflected, certainly had its benefits, allowing him to be a silent observer of such extraordinary events. But for now, his tiny body was truly exhausted from the day's adventures. He was content with swimming back home to his cozy little corner of the Adriatic and getting some well-deserved rest. His heart filled with the warmth of the love he had witnessed.